continuing on with factoring polynomials, day 3. So this lesson we're going to talk about how to factor trinomials. So again, our steps for factoring. First step is look for a greatest common factor. Second step is count the number of terms and factor it. So the previous lesson we did 2 terms, which we talked about a difference of squares, a difference of cubes, and a sum of cubes. Today we're going to talk about 3 terms, which is a trinomial. I'm going to talk about simple and an alien. Now these are the titles that I call them, okay? This isn't like something official. This is just what I call them. And then 4 terms is grouping. And then always make sure that you check to make sure that it is factored completely at the end. Alright, so for factoring trinomials of the form x squared plus bx plus c, what I call this simple. So the steps here, I'm just going to kind of run through them and then we'll actually do them. So our first thing is we're going to open 2 sets of parentheses side by side, just like what I have there. Then we're going to find what multiplies to x squared and write that at the beginning of each parentheses. Then we're going to find 2 numbers that multiply to c and add or subtract to b. We read the problem backwards. Write the biggest number in the first parentheses, smaller number in the second parentheses. Then we're going to bring down the first sign into the first parenthesis. And then we'll find the sign needed in the second parenthesis so that when you multiply the last numbers in each parenthesis, you'll get C. Alright, so look at example 1 here. So we're going to factor x squared plus 13x plus 40. Remember, our first step is greatest common factor. So do they have a greatest common factor? They do not. Second step, count the number of terms. There's 3 terms. So it's a trinomial. So is it simple or an alien? It's going to be a simple trinomial because it has a 1 at the beginning. If it has any number other than a 1 there, it's an alien. Alright, so simple trinomial. It says to open 2 sets of parentheses here side by side. We know our first term here has to multiply to give us that x squared. So it's going to be x and x. These last 2 terms are going to multiply to this last number, 40, and then read it backwards. They also have to add to the number 13. So I'm looking for 2 numbers. They're going to multiply to 40, but they're also going to add to 13. And so I'm going to go through and list everything that multiplies to 40. So 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 3 doesn't go into it, 4 times 10, 5 times 8, 6 doesn't divide into it, 7 doesn't divide into it, 8 times 5, I'm repeating myself, right, because I already have 5 times 8. So these are everything that multiplies to 40. Now, I also need them to add to 13. Well, these 2 add to 41. These are 22. This is 14, and this is 13. So 8 and 5 are my answers. So I'm going to put the bigger number in the first parenthesis, smaller one in the second. I do that so I can bring down that first sign. Then just remember, these last 2 numbers, positive 8 and some type of 5, have to multiply to give me that positive 40. So positive 8 times what kind of 5 gives me a positive 40. Positive times what gives me a positive? A positive. So I know it's going to be a plus in that parenthesis. So make sure it's factored completely. There's no greatest common factor. We can't factor either one of the 2 terms here. So this is our solution. Our factors. B. Do they have a greatest common factor? They do not. Count the number of terms. 3. Simple or alien? Simple. So simple, we're going to open the 2 sets of parentheses. Now this time our first terms here have to multiply to give me m squared. So m times m. My second numbers here are going to multiply to 15 and then add to 8. So I need to multiply to 15 and add to 8. So I'm going to list everything that multiplies to 15 starting at 1. 1 times 15, 2 doesn't go into it. 3 times 5, 4 doesn't go into it. 5 times 3, I'm repeating myself so I can stop. Notice when I do these, I always start at 1 and I go until I repeat. I check every number because if I skip a number, it's probably going to be the one I need. Alright, so these have to add to 8 though. So we know that 3 plus 5 is 8. Bigger number first. Bring down that first sign. Now negative 5 times what kind of 3 would give me a positive 15? Negative times what is a positive? A negative. So put a minus there. Make sure that this is factored completely. No greatest common factors. No sum or difference of cubes, no difference of squares. So there's our solution. C, no greatest common factor, 3 terms, simple because it's got the 1 in front. So set it up. Our first terms have to multiply to a squared. Our last terms are going to multiply to 44 and read it backwards. They also have to subtract to 7. So we want to multiply to 44, but we want to subtract to 7. So let's see, 1 times 44, 2 times 22, 3 doesn't go into it, 4 times 11, 5 doesn't, 6 doesn't, 7 doesn't, 8 does not, 9 does not, 10 does not, 11 times 4, I'm repeating myself. So I've got everything that multiplies to 44. Which of these subtract to 7? Well, 11 minus 4 is 7. So I'm going to put my bigger number first. Bring down that first sign. Positive 11 times what kind of 4 gives me a negative 44. So positive times what gives me a negative? A negative. Make sure that you're factored completely, which we are. So there's our answer. And then D, same thing, no greatest common factor, 3 terms, simple, so open your parenthesis. Your first terms have to multiply to be x squared, which are x and x. Your last terms here are going to multiply to 12 and also subtract till there's a 1 there. So they got to multiply to 12 and subtract to 1. So 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, 4 times 3, I'm repeating myself. 4 minus 3 is 1, so bigger number first. Bring down the first sign. A negative 4 times what kind of 3 will give me that negative 12? A negative times what is a negative? A positive, so put a plus there. Make sure you're factored completely, which we are. And so there is our answer. What if there's a number in front of the x squared, though, okay? So we're going to factor trinomials to the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, which is what I call the alien, and I have this corny story that's going to help us to kind of remember the steps. All right, so the first thing is our alien woman, who's our A, is going to go on vacation, so she kisses her husband, the C, goodbye. And so A is going to be put off to the side there. Since they're aliens, when they kiss, they'll multiply. So, sorry, I know this is grammatically incorrect there. Then we're going to rewrite the equation without the A, because she's on vacation, and make the last number what you get when you multiply the A and C, because they multiplied. Now we have a simple trinomial, so we're going to factor it. Then, because A went on vacation, remember, when you go on vacation, you have to come back. So she must come back. C is mad because he stayed home and multiplied. So all numbers are going to be divided by A because of the A. They're dividing it up. Then we're going to reduce the fractions if possible. And if the fractions do not reduce to a whole number, you're going to throw the number on bottom of the fraction in front of the x in its parentheses. So you're going to throw it back to the x. All right, so let's try that. If you remember how to do it a way you've been previously taught, that's fine. You can use it. But if you don't, maybe this story will help you. All right, so A, any greatest common factors? No. Count the number of terms, 3. Simple or alien? We got that 3 right there. That makes it an alien. So this is our alien woman. She's going to go on vacation and kisses her husband, the 6, goodbye. So she's over here on vacation. She's gone, so don't write her down. So bring down the x squared plus 11x plus, but remember when they kissed, he multiplied. So 3 times 6 is the 18. Now this is a simple trinomial, just like what we did in example 1. So we're going to factor it. 2 sets of parentheses. My first terms have to give me x squared. My last terms have to multiply to 18 and also have to add to 11. So they got to multiply to 18 and add to 11. And if you know what it is, guys, you don't have to write them all down, okay? This is just to help us. So 1 times 18, 2 times 9. Some of y'all are saying, there it is. You're right. So we could stop there. We found what added to 11. Bigger number first. Bring down that first sign. Positive 9 times what kind of 2 is a positive 18? a positive 2. But be careful. Remember, this is an alien. Your alien woman's still off on vacation. And so you know that when you're on vacation, you must come home. So she's going to come back home. He's mad. It's over. They're dividing it up because of her. So divide by her. Reduce the fractions if possible. So 9 over 3 reduces to 3. 2 over 3 doesn't reduce. Now, because we're factoring, we can't have fractions. So if it doesn't reduce to a whole number, you're going to take the number on bottom and throw it back to the x. So we got x plus 3 times, the 3 is going to go in front of the x, and so then all you have is the plus 2 there. Make sure you're factored completely. Double check yourself, guys. When you're doing the alien, what's 3x times x? The 3x squared that we started with, okay? That'll help you realize if you missed the greatest common factor, but it'll also help you realize if you forgot to bring the alien woman back. All right, B. No greatest common factor, 3 terms, got a number in front of the x squared, so it's an alien. So the alien woman's going to go on vacation. She kisses her husband goodbye, and she's gone. She's gone. And when they kiss, they multiply. So 15 times 4 is 60. Simple trinomial, so let's factor it. So we know to get x squared, we got x and x. We're also looking for these two numbers. They're going to multiply to 60 and read it backwards. They're going to subtract to 17. So you're going to multiply to 60 and subtract to 17. So 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20. Yeah, there it is, right? We could keep going, but we found it, so you can stop. Bigger number first. Bring down that first sign. A negative 20 times what kind of 3 gives us a negative 60? Negative times what is a negative? A positive. Now, this is an alien, so you got to bring her back. He's mad. They divide by her. Reduce your fractions. 20 over 15 is 4 over 3 because they're both divisible by 5. 3 over 15, they're both divisible by 3, so we get 1 over 5. And because they didn't reduce the whole numbers, take the number on bottom and throw it in front of the x. So 3x minus 4. Take the number on bottom, throw it in front of the x. So 5x plus 1. No greatest common factors. Can't factor either parenthesis. Just check real quick. What's 3x times 5x? It is the 15x squared we needed. So we didn't forget. So there's our solutions. C, or I guess A on example 3 here. All right, bigger numbers. No big deal though, okay? So we're going to take no greatest common factor, 3 terms, alien. So alien woman goes on vacation, kisses her man goodbye. She's gone. When they kiss, they multiply. 9 times 16 is 144. Simple trinomial. Multiply to x squared is x and x. Then we need two numbers that multiply to 144 that will also add to 14. So it's going to multiply to 144 and add to 14. So let's see. 1 times 144, 2 times 72, 3 times, I'm just in my calculator doing 144 divided by 3, 48. 4 times 144 divided by 4, 36. 5 times, it's a decimal, so we don't want to use it. 6 times 24. 7 times, it's a decimal. 8 times 18. 9 times 16. 10 times, it's a decimal, don't use it. 11 times, it's a decimal, don't use it. 12 times 12. Since these numbers here are the same, that means after that it's going to repeat. So which of those add to 14? None of them. Right? So when you run into this problem where you make sure you have all your factors there, you checked each of them, none of them work, this is prime. We cannot factor this one. All right, so let's try B. No greatest common factor, 3 terms, alien. Alien woman goes on vacation, kisses her husband goodbye, and she's gone. She's gone. When they kiss, they multiply. Simple trinomial, so my first terms have to give me x squared. And my last terms need to multiply to 120, but also subtract to 2. So multiply to 120, subtract to 2. So 1 times 120, 2 times 60, 3 times 40, 4 times 30. Oops, that's supposed to be a 4, sorry. I'll rewrite that. 5 times 24. 6 times 20. 7 doesn't go into it. 8 times 15. 9 doesn't go into it. 10 times 12. 11 doesn't go into it. 12 times 10, we're repeating. So which of these subtract to 2? 12 minus 10 is 2. So bigger number first. Bring down that first sign. Negative 12 times what kind of 10 gives me a negative 120. Negative times what is a negative? A positive. Remember, this is an alien, so bring her back. He's mad. They divide it up. They divide by her. Reduce your fraction. 12 and 8 are both divisible by 4. Reduce your fraction. 10 and 8 are both divisible by 2. And then take the number on bottom and throw it back to the x. So we get 2x minus 3 times 4x plus 5. And then just check real quick your first numbers. What's 2x times 4x? It is the 8x squared we needed to start with. No, nothing else simplifies. No other way to factor, so there is our solution. All right, so there is a way to factor with perfect square trinomials, and if you think you can see it, then you can try it. But I noticed students have trouble with it. So could I still factor it as an alien? I can. The difference is my numbers are going to be big usually, okay? But we can still do that. So let's try this just as an alien. So we're going to factor 16x squared minus 56x plus 49. No greatest common factor. 3 terms, alien. So alien woman goes on vacation, kisses her husband goodbye. She's gone, and they multiply. And so 16 times 49 is 784. Simple trinomial. We know our first terms have to multiply to x squared. Our second terms have to multiply to 784 and add to 56. So you got to multiply to 784 and add to 56. My list is probably going to be long. Now, we could sit there and do 784 divided by 1, 784 divided by 2, 784 divided by 3. But there's a way to let your calculator help you. If you've got a graphing calculator, what you can do, and I'm still going to write them down. I'm just going to use my calculator to get my answers. Go to your y equals and type in 784 divided by x. So you can do this with any of these, okay? Whatever number you want it to multiply by and divide it by x. And then go to your table. So we go to your table, you'll see a bunch of numbers, and look at 1. 1 has 784 next to it. 2 has 392. So that means 1 times 784, 2 times 392. 3's got a decimal. I don't want to use it. 4 times 196. 5's got a decimal. 6 has a decimal. 7 times 112. 8 times 98. 9's got a decimal, 10's got a decimal, 11's got a decimal, 12's got a decimal, 13 does, 14 times 56. So I'm going to scroll through here. I can't use 15. 16 times 49. Not 17, not 18, not 19, not 20, not 21, not 22, not 23, not 24, not 25, not 26, not 27. 28 times 28. Oh, they're repeating. So this is everything that multiplies to 784, okay? Now, do any of those add to 56? 28 plus 28 is 56. Bigger number first, doesn't matter since they're the same. Bring down the first sign. Negative 28 times what kind of 28 gives me a positive 784. A negative times what is a positive? A negative. Now remember, this is an alien, so you got to bring her back. They divide by her. Reduce if possible. 28 and 16 are both divisible by 4. And this is the same thing, so it's going to be the same. And then the number on bottom gets thrown back in front of the x. So you get 4x minus 7 times 4x minus 7. So we are factored completely, but wait, they're the same, so we could have written this as 4x minus 7 squared. So either one of those are correct answers.